basically, people who are just solitary, they're not really part of any group, or just really they can't defend themselves, they get picked on. That's where it starts, or that's where these characters are going to start. Because the rest of the high school is full of gangs, full of people that are just struggling against each other, and they get incorporated into this gang called the Dagger, and the Dagger is this group which travels the other world, but they will bring these guys in, and you're going to see that actor or the character go from being picked on to they start gaining power. They start learning the ropes, learning what to do and what they can do. So the actor is allowed to explore that and grow in that respect. So they become a follower, a soldier in this group, in this gang, and then in their junior and senior year, they're going to become the leaders of the gang, and you'll see them. Can they handle leadership? They'll be put into situations. Can they react? Can they handle it? Born leaders will come forward. Just guys who mess up, you see fall behind, and that's what you want to see too. Is you want to see, I think it would be great to see is that yes, you'll see characters just mess up. So it's not always going to be a happy ending, you're not always going to be a perfect ending, either. And then the other aspect about bringing guys in from around the world, later on is that you can then explore other aspects of what do we have, minorities and foreigners, people like fresh off the boat kind of, people or characters, come in and be involved. The filming itself would, it would show them at the school, in the gang, with the Dagger, hanging out, training, when they go to this other world, their home life, everything, and using all that. When you put it all together on a DVD, you can have different, versions. So you can have the TV show version, you can have the director's cut of what he wanted to show you guys. And then you can also have, you could also select a character, and all the scenes involving that character would be put together. So that way you just have, you can have your own little, version of the story, but based off of that guy, and you can watch that character grow, and become somebody or something interesting. And this is part of where the idea for the story is that the stories would essentially, after about 4 years, the story would be repetitive. In year 5. In fact, I think up to year 5, that's about where the originality would end. Because after that, then it's going to become repetitive. Because it's going to be, you're going to see basically the characters doing the same thing over and over again. Each year, and that is going out recruiting new people, train the people, and then they go to this other world and fight and do different things. But what's going to change, what's going to be different, is that they're going to have all this history. So it's not going to be you start from point zero and you keep going back to point zero. No, it's everything's constantly changing. And because we'd be filming in a Curb Your Enthusiasm method, that I just tell the actors, all right, this is what's going on in this scene. This is what I want you to achieve. Go for it. Whatever memories they have and carry along with them, is what they bring to the table. And so that's also where the flaws, will come in and have an effect and is going to pay off. And it's also the idea they'll have some change-ups and stuff here and there. They have to always keep it a secret. So there'll be a little bit of magic, and but it's going to be really very weak magic, and it's always going to be just kind of only you can only use in certain ways and circumstances. And in particular, that's with using mind control or mind influencing people. And I much rather prefer mind influence, because then you're trying to convince somebody of something, and if they are dead set on one point or one thing, you can't convince them one way or another. It's regardless of what their mind tells them, kind of thing. So I thought it'd be real interesting to see and explore. But the other for other stories is that these guys are going to go over there, or to go to this other world, Adrena, and interact with people. so like what I was saying about sets and design, like I think really just build one village, but the four sides of it, the four main thoroughfares, you make in different ways, so that way hey, guess what? Now you got four different villages, depending on how you film it, and then have different buildings, in it, and that's just something simple you can build in the United States or up in Canada, or like I said, just even down in like New Zealand, even if since they seem to have those type of shows down there. But that'd be just for the basics. Later on, when as the show goes on for years, if that's possible, you're going to have all these actors in the backlog, or that you've had over the years who are going to be experienced in the combat style, and so now you can bring those, hire those guys on if possible, and create armies out of that. So you can literally have a whole, you can have an army on army action going on, or a relative army on army action, and you're realistic because all these guys know how to do stage combat. You are going to give them armor and protection, but otherwise they're going out there with rubber swords and whacking away at each other. Whoever is killed kind of thing. So that's the other, and like I said, that's going to be the impact for the audience. The audience will have, you can more or less decide what kind of story you want to focus on and look at. So you're going to see characters who are in the group, characters outside of the group that are being interacted with, characters that they join the group and leave the group, and they know the secret. What sort of what are they going to do with that secret, with that knowledge? You'll see the gangs at the school interacting with each other, and as a result, with the dagger, there'll be some friction now and then, which will be interesting, in my opinion. Otherwise, on Adrena, the action would be, just these guys walking around. They'd, hire themselves out as guards for caravans, or go to a town and they'd walk, talk to the people there and interact with them. In my story, I was real shocked at how it's a video game aspect to what's going on, but also with just how the characters just carried themselves. I didn't purposely aim for that, but it just seemed to work out that way. And I realized that really when you look at the video games kids play these days, it's what it's what they're doing. And at the same time, if I put these characters into this environment where you can go out and you fight somebody, you can loot their corpse, to get get money from them, this and that. And I was like, wow, it's just like a video game, and weird how that worked out. But you turn on YouTube, look for jackass stunts, kids doing very physical, crazy stuff. That's what kids throughout the history, when they enter that age, they're part of the military and involved in these very strong physical, things, and to the point of they do risk their lives, so have that in a show, have that in a very real sense that these guys are risking their lives, and what sort of impact will that have on the audience? But like I said, you train them in the stage combat style. You bring in ballerina dancers, football players, pro wrestlers. Train these guys in how to use weapons, use their hands, use the environment, for combat and struggling with each other. And I'm of the opinion that you're going to have this very dynamic show. That'll be interesting and entertaining. It's like sometimes when I tell people about it, my story, I say, think of Harry Potter meets Sopranos, because you're not going to have, you don't have good or bad characters, good or bad guys. You have selfish, people who, if they have a little bit of power, they're going to either want more of it or they're going to do this and that with it. But ultimately, they're going to satisfy their selfish desires, and that's the case with Sopranos. I also like The Wire, and how you just see the storyline of from all these different angles.